ADHD Babes, the podcast, a podcast hosted by the ADHD Babes community for the community. Join us every 2 weeks to share in our babes' personal experiences, gain useful tools, and be educated by special guests in topics such as ADHD management, relationships, general well-being, tech and fun, culture, and more. Please note, nothing mentioned during the podcast is meant as a diagnosis. If you believe you have ADHD, please seek professional advice and visit or join ADHDbabes.com for help with diagnosis. No clinical diagnosis is required to join. And now, you're listening to the next episode of ADHD Babes, the podcast. Welcome back to another episode with us at ADHD Babes, the podcast. Thank you everyone who's joined us so far. Please don't forget to leave us a rating and review and share it with others. Today's episode is hosted by me, Shauna, and we're going to be talking with Priyanka, or as she's known on TikTok and Instagram, Little Miss ADHD. Welcome, Priyanka. Tell us a bit about yourself and when you got formally diagnosed.
Okay, well, hi, Shauna. Thank you so much for having me on here. I'm super excited. So, oh my God, I can't believe this has already started. What did you ask me? Oh my God, I'm actually so embarrassed. It's literally been 1 second. Okay.
So, tell us a bit about you, who you are, and where you're from, and when you got diagnosed.
Okay.
So I can break that down. So who are you?
So yeah, you know what? It's easy that way because you made like 3-4 different points, and I'm just trying to focus on one, and then the next one comes. I'm like, all right, I forgot the first one. So yeah, so like you said, my name is Priyanka. So I'm originally from Watford, so it's just outside London, and I moved up to the Grotty North in Manchester about 2.5 years ago. So I currently work as a clinical mental health pharmacist for the home treatment mental health crisis teams. And yeah, that's the first part of the question, right?
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, okay.
Second part of the question was, when did you formally get diagnosed?
So for me, it was quite recent. It was the end of August. So yeah, it was a very it's a very life-changing thing when you get diagnosed. And I think everyone kind of agrees with that because everyone says you kind of go through like the 5 stages of grief. And it's so true because, you know, I feel like I'm still in the anger stage. Like, I just want to fight my doctors who just weren't listening to me. And I want to fight all the people who are just like, no, you don't have ADHD. And I'm just like, they're whipping out my paper. Like, look, no, I do. Whipping out my meds. Like, look, I do. But you know what? It's also a really good thing, I feel, because it gives you so much clarity. Yeah. And you're just like, you know what? I'm not actually a useless human. There are certain things which I struggle with, and that's okay. But at least you understand that it's not just you just being lazy or being forgetful or just not caring. So, you know, I'm learning so much about my condition every single day. And you know, it's annoying because we have to work so much harder, I feel, than neurotypicals to just do basic things. But I think once we get over being annoyed and angry about that, then, you know, we kind of just get on with life. But, you know, everything just starts to make sense. And, you know, I always like to describe it. You know that meme of Charlie Day? Like, you know, where he's got that board and he's like, have you seen it? When he's got the board and he's got like all these things on it.
Probably.
Oh my God, do you know what? I'm going to send it to you later. Anyway, he's got like this manic look on his face, and he's basically trying to it's like you're trying to put together like all the dots and everything. And it literally describes exactly what everyone goes through. Because it's like, oh, that's why I did that. Oh, that's why I do that. Oh, that's why I can't do that.
Yeah. So it's like life just
lot.
makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. Like literally every single person who has been able to get their diagnosis formally has been like exactly the same, like, oh, okay, and then there's this and this and this and this and this. The episode that we released that's going to be just before this one was about remembering childhood symptoms. And so we were kind of going through and going, oh, do you know this and this and this when I was younger? And the teacher was just like, Shauna needs to shut up and stop talking. Hello.
Oh my God. Yeah. Do you know what that was really bad with me. I always got in so much trouble because it's like, I mean, I feel like our cultures would be quite similar. And, when you're a young girl, like if you're there shouting, running around, it's like, what are you doing? You should be more respectful, but it's never really the same with boys. It's like boys will be boys. But when we do that stuff, it's just like, don't do it. Like,
what are you doing? Yeah.
You're bringing shame to our family.
Oh, God. So you've kind of touched on a point which I didn't mention. Obviously, we have mostly had Black people or women or non-binary people come on as guests. You're not Black, but you are a person of color. So just to clarify with everybody, what is your descent? Just because we will be talking about it and I want them to be able to understand the full context of what we're talking about. So can you clarify your descent with it for everyone?
Yeah, so my family, we come from an Indian heritage, but so my mum was actually born in Kenya. There were a lot of Indians who actually emigrated. I think that's the right word. I don't know if it's emigrated or immigrated, but it's one of those words. Yeah. Anyway, so a lot of them immigrated to like Kenya, Nairobi, those kind of places. So my mum's family was there, and then she moved over here when she was a baby. My dad moved over here when he was about 12 years old. But yeah, like I've not done one of them 23andMe tests, but I am very sure that I've not got any surprises in my mix. But so yeah, full Indian.
Okay, great. I have Indian in my blood myself. So
do you?
Yeah, both of them. So what would have been India at the time, but it's probably more Pakistan now.
Okay.
But it is more where they immigrated, so it's like they went to the West Indies. So both of my granddads, I think both of their dads, I can't actually remember, but both of they're basically half Indian and half Black.
Okay.
And then my grandmas are both 3/4 Black and 1/4 white because their dads are mixed race. So I actually do have a lot of mixed.
Yeah, there'll be some hidden surprises there if you ever did one of those tests. Yeah.
I'd always start at the beginning, actually. So you mentioned kind of now that you have your diagnosis, what was it that for you that really kind of made you think, okay, there must be something that is wrong, I guess. I don't really know how I put it myself. What was it for you?
I mean, like now, like when I sit back and think about like my whole life, like it makes sense. But at that time, I guess you just feel like it's just you and there's just, it's just who you are as a person. And back when I was like at uni and school, like, I just thought that I was like an emotional, forgetful, ditzy person. Like it was just me. And then I think it was everything kind of like, everything just went. I'm trying to say this without swearing because
you can swear,
I'm just mindful that I have to be professional. I'm just saying like, everything just went very chaotic when I basically had to be an adult in a sense because, there's a lot of responsibilities. It's very stressful.
Yeah.
And us ADHDers are not very good at handling all of that. So when I moved up to Manchester, a lot of stuff happened. So like we got robbed. My granddad passed away. I was in and out of hospital because of endometriosis.
Gosh.
I just started a new job. And then because I was not handling all of that stress well, I ended up with alopecia and I lost like nearly 50% of my hair. Yeah, like I had a patch like this big. It was really bad.
Yeah.
You guys are gonna be listening, so I can't I just visually showed Shauna the size.
It's okay, we do it all the time, no worries. But it was about the size of, I don't know what this size would be.
I don't know either. Size of an average fist, I would say, or a bit bigger. I don't know. Anyway,
like
it was
just the crown area kind of thing.
It was all over my head. Like I think at one point was very convinced I was going to go bald, and I was so surprised I wasn't because the amount of hair I was losing, I was like, this going to happen. So, so yeah, things were like very tough. I just wasn't handling things. I don't think anyone would, but I did not handle it particularly well at
Mm.
all. So, I went to my doctors because things just weren't getting better. Mentally, I was struggling a lot. So they diagnosed me with depression. And when I think about it at that time, yeah, I probably did have depression, but they put me on medication. And I was like, okay, but that, like you said, there's something missing. Like
Mm.
you still feel like there's something going on. And I was like, this just doesn't seem right. So they upped my dose, which gave me more side effects. So I was like, no, put me back down.
Mm.
And then I was just trying to figure out, I was like, what is going on with me? Like, this just doesn't make sense.
And I
And
bet
then,
all of these kind of side effects would have, and not reducing the stress levels because it's not really doing the trick, would have
yeah,
made other symptoms a bit worse as well, like the alopecia.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Like, all of these meds have very nasty side effects. If you're one of the unfortunate people who experiences them. So yeah, that was all going on. And then I am actually one of the people who, because of a TikTok video, it kind of it was a light bulb moment for me. And
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll touch upon social media and stuff later on, in regards to ADHD.
Hmm.
There's a lot of good, but there's also bad with it.
Yeah.
But I think the one thing I want to say when it comes to social media is use it as someone opening the door for you.
Yeah.
Um, don't use it as someone opening the door, sitting you down in a room, handing you a cup of tea, that kind
Mm.
of thing. Like
Mm.
it opens the door for you. So, I saw a video about the symptoms in women, and I was like, oh my God, this resonates with me so much. I was like, there's no way this could be ADHD. Even being someone working in mental health, I was still very like, can women have it?
Mm.
Can adults have it?
Yeah, yeah.
I thought ADHD is just like, being hyper and running around. Like, that's what everyone thinks.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I did a lot of research into it. And because I work in mental health, I know what criteria to be looking at. So it like the puzzle was like, it was like coming together.
Yeah.
And I was so convinced that this was it. And
Mm.
yeah, I remember telling like my family and my friends, and they just like literally looked at me like I had probably said the most offensive racial slur or something.
Oh my
Because
gosh.
I was just like, it's because I think it's when so many people make you doubt yourself that you're just like, is this really it? Or am I just
Mm.
overthinking and whatever? But I was so convinced, and I still got, my GP's therapist, like, no, you don't have it. Let's try in another antidepressant. And I remember speaking to my therapist, and, he just, I don't even know if he heard me or just decided to ignore me when I mentioned ADHD. Yeah. So I was just like, okay, I won't mention it again. And then, yeah, things were just getting like worse and worse. And then it came to the point where I just had enough. And I went into my GP literally like, I was ready to throw hands. I'm not gonna lie. I
Mm.
went in, I was just like bawling my eyes out to my GP, and I was just like, I am not leaving until you send me a referral, because I've got this symptom, I've got that symptom. I don't know why you guys are just keep changing my medication.
Mm.
So she kindly listened to me and referred me on. But then, as you guys know, the referral process is a joke. It is ridiculous. But at this point, because I was mentally so bad, like because I lived in Manchester, I had to go back to London for a few months. I had to quit my job. Things were just going so down for me. So
Yeah.
I had to get my dad involved. And it's another thing which I want to talk about later as well, when it comes to like parents and all of
Yeah,
this, because
definitely,
he
definitely.
went against the typical stereotype and he did everything to help me.
Mm.
And it was literally because of him I ended up actually getting seen quicker,
Nice.
because
Thanks,
I was
Dad.
at risk technically. So yeah, I think that parental instinct comes in. I heard
Mm.
him on the phone and he was like threatening to sue them and everything, and I was just
Good.
like,
Yes,
okay.
Daddy.
Yeah, good dad, good. So yeah, fortunately I did get seen then after he'd literally shouted at them. But to be fair, they've messed me around so
Mm.
much. Like they were being awful about the whole process. So yeah, I ended up with a diagnosis at the end of October, and then I was put on medication quite quickly, actually. And then yeah, here I am now, like, a bit more mentally stable, not entirely there because we're all a bit, you know, we hate this place. I hate England right now. So,
Oh my God,
but
it's so cold. So cold. So cold.
oh my God, don't. I've been using my dog as a foot warmer because I don't want to put the heating on, you know?
I'll share a secret with you. One hot water bottle.
Oh my God, you got the long ones as well. I got that.
Two hot water bottles.
Oh my God. Oh, I thought you were going to whip out a third one. That would have been impressive.
No, I did just have the heater on before we started though. So there was this room is hot, is warm. I'm warm, but the rest of the house not so much. But yeah, it's too cold.
Yeah.
So great that you got diagnosed, because yes, oh my gosh, the queue is so long. I ended up going privately because I can't do the whole waiting period. Like,
yeah, none of us can.
Out of that symptom, that probably my worst.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it is kind of like you're literally asking me if I'm impatient and then go and be patient.
I literally made a video about this on TikTok actually, about how anti-ADHD these ADHD clinics are.
Absolutely.
Like it is so ironic, you could laugh.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one of the things. Yeah.
So I actually ended up like just finding a private place that I could get diagnosis. So I didn't go through titration because they were just like out of my price range. But I wanted to know, I had to know if I was just going crazy or like convincing myself that I'd seen something that it's not applicable to me. Exactly. And I couldn't go forward with life, like just having it on my shoulders, like in the back of my head. So I went and got diagnosed and I got my diagnosis. But I still tried to get like the referral through the NHS so that I could get my medication through the NHS. Mm-hmm. And about 4 months after my GP sent the referral, I got a letter from Sussex Mental Health Centre saying, we're really sorry, we did get your referral, but our queue is years with an S long. We can't give you a date. So right now, yes, I have my diagnosis. I got diagnosed literally, I think it's a year ago today, actually. And I would still be waiting and not knowing and still feeling those things. Whereas now I can go through that grieving process. I can go, okay, I can be kind to myself because I had it. Now, anyone who wants to ask for mental health help is asking for help right now, not in years' time. Like if I was suicidal, which some are, I'm not, but some are, you telling me, oh, it's years wait, that's just driving me to be like, oh, I can't get the help I need, so I'm just going to go and finish what I was trying to start. Do you get what I mean? Yeah,
this is the issue. Yeah, it's a joke. I feel like, so I work for like secondary mental health services, and it's like, why are you not putting preventative measures in place? You know, it's so unethical to kind of leave patients to the point. Are you okay?
Yeah, sorry, back spasm.
You just made a face. I was like,
yeah. Caught me by surprise.
Yeah. What, me?
No, the spasm.
Oh, right. Okay. Yes. Okay. But yeah, you're all good?
I'm good.
Okay,
just ignore me.
Don't worry. But yeah, I was just saying, it's like, you can't just let patients deteriorate to the point that you're only going to help them when they're in that crisis. And this is where I feel like primary care, like GPs, therapists, all of that stuff needs to get better, because you need to catch the patients when they're at that point when they're going to deteriorate, but they're still got that mental capacity to engage with services to kind of ensure that they don't deteriorate. Don't just keep them on a waiting list and then get them to the point of crisis that they have to go to emergency services. This is where I think
you can get seen.
Sorry?
The only time you can get seen.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is the issue. And then you wonder why like A&E waiting times sometimes are so long.
It's the only time you can actually get help.
I know. Yeah.
I suppose while we're talking about the NHS and I guess the mental health services, we can go into your work as a clinical mental health pharmacist. Did I get that right?
Yeah. You got that right, yeah.
So firstly, what is a clinical mental health pharmacist?
So I'll just say I think when people hear the word pharmacist, they kind of think like, boots pharmacist that gives you your meds. So that is like an aspect of it, but there is a lot more to it. I mean, you know, we have done a lot of training. We had to do 4 years at uni, and then we do a pre-reg year. And then we have to get qualified and put on a register. So some people have the impression that we just kind of take meds off a shelf and give it out, but there's a lot. We are basically experts in the way that medicines work in the body.
Right.
And, you know, we understand how like medicines interact with each other. We can give advice and help patients, you know, tailor patients to have medication that's suited for them and the conditions that they have. And, you know, we advise on ways to cut down medication, ways to decrease side effects. You know, that's just some of the things that we touch upon. And then when it comes to mental health, it's basically all of that stuff, but also it's just for mental health, really. But the thing is, when it comes to mental health, I think actually it's probably one of the hardest things as a clinician, whatever type of role you're in, to know about, because you have to consider a patient's physical health as a whole thing. And then on top of that, you've got their mental health. And both of them will come hand in hand. Whereas, you know, if you're a clinician within something to do with physical health, you know, you don't have that mental health lingering in the back. You've just got to treat that physical symptom. But with us, we always have that physical health no matter what.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that goes involved with that. And mental health medication is very, very complex. This is probably one of the things I love it so much, because there's no right answer. Like, you know, with blood pressure medication, you know, you measure your blood pressure. If it's at a certain number, okay, we'll try this one. If that doesn't work, we'll try the next one. Mental health drugs are not like that. Like, not one person is going to respond the way to one drug the same way the next person is going to. Like, you know, it's trial and error, really, and trying to tailor it so it's going to suit that specific person, you know, and actually look at what type of symptoms they have. And, you know, there's a lot of crossover with other mental health diagnoses that you have to really understand what is entailed with those different conditions to give out those diagnoses properly. So yeah, it's a very complex but very interesting line of work.
So I'm going to start at the beginning, because I have loads of questions about everything you just said.
All right, go on, shoot. I'm ready.
how was the studying? So obviously most women or females or people who are inattentive tend to find that it's university that is where they really start to see the big struggles. And 4 years at uni, that's really a good achievement for someone who probably would have, like everybody else, had their own struggles at that point in their lives. Like, how did you find actually studying it and getting your qualification so you can become a registered clinician?
I mean, it was so hard. I feel like I boxed up that trauma and just like kicked out the door, because it was hell when I think about it. Like, it's so annoying because intelligence is not affected by ADHD, but because it really affects the way that you study and perform under pressure, it's so easy to try and like basically say to yourself, oh my God, I'm dumb. Like, I don't understand. Why is this not going in? Why couldn't I do that? Why did I make that silly mistake? There's a lot of self-hatred and just constant beating up and comparing. And that's literally what my whole uni life was, because I was like saying to myself, I was like, I swear I'm intelligent, but why are my grades not showing that? Like, why can't I do well in these tests? Like, why are all my friends seeming to always get higher than me? Like, it's not good to compare, but it's very hard when you have a group of friends who are all doing the same thing together. And it was always me. I always felt it was me who had just kind of scraped it. And it really got to me, because it's like, I feel like I'm trying so hard, but it's not getting there. And lectures, no way. I was falling asleep in lectures. Like, my friends have got videos of me falling asleep in lectures. Like, I could not concentrate at all. Nothing would go in. I would try my uttermost to just focus, but it was not going in. Nothing was ever going in. So I only went to the lectures which were compulsory attendance. There was this one lecturer who, you know, she's one of them annoying ones. She's got those registers at the front, you know, like we're in primary school or something. And I'm like, bro, I'm 20. Why are you doing this? Like, why do I have to sign in for attendance like this? But anyway, like,
No.
you know,
Well, like you post the study notes online afterwards. I'll just read those.
Exactly.
Like, I don't even need
She
to
took
be
it
here.
personally. She made this statement at the start of the year. She was like, if you don't have at least 80% attendance, if you've got any questions, I won't help you. And I was like, sorry, what? We're paying 9.5 grand and you don't want to help us. Particularly with people and neurodivergent and especially autism as well. If you can't get yourself into uni lectures, like that's very ableist.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a whole other situation.
We'll have you
yeah,
back on, don't worry.
I felt I could only revise if I was in my room. I tried going to the libraries, but could not. Like I'd go there in the space of 8 hours. All I've done is buy like 2 expensive, really sad meal deals. You know, opened up a tab and then got my pencil case out, and then that's it. That's it. My whole day is gone, and it's like, what have I done? What have I actually done? It's literally, it was so annoying. So I could only revise in my room, and even then, it was hard because I was just like, why am I getting distracted? Why can't I just not concentrate? I need to focus. I need to focus. But then you'd have those spurs of moments where you're like there for hours.
Yeah,
like, there was this one piece of coursework. I literally sat down for 5 hours straight and did it. I still got 42%. I was fuming after all of that. But anyway, so yeah, it was very hard. Like it was kind of an auditory processing. I don't know why I could never do it. Like I had to have things written out for me to actually sometimes let it go in. And even then it was hard. Like visual revision was the way I could do it. And I think that's something which I've learned is very ADHD trait, because we learn things more visually, and it makes sense why I used to draw these mind maps, or I used to make all these cartoons and everything. And there's this YouTube account called 2 Minute Science, and I used to rinse that, because 2 Minute Science with these cartoons, that is literally the best thing for someone with ADHD who's studying a science-based degree. So if anyone is there studying a science-based degree, 2 Minute Science on YouTube, go, it will be your best friend. So you know, that's the only way. It was a massive struggle, and I literally scraped my 2-1. I'm not even joking. Like, I was like 2% off from getting a 2-2, but you know, it's fine.
Hey, don't matter. They're not looking at the percentage, man. Yeah. And do you know what? Like, they always say that those people who get firsts, they don't believe that they have lived.
Yes.
So
yeah, that's true.
They also prefer people to get a 2-1, because it means that you had some life experience and you could still get a degree, I guess. But I'll take my 2-1 and I'll just run with it.
Yeah, no, 2-1s, we're better people. The first people, they think they're all that, you know, and they always bring it up in conversation. They always bring it up.
It's so annoying, because I have a friend, and she did business. So I did an arts degree. She actually did like a degree that people might think that is relevant. I did drama. No one wants a drama degree. But so she did business, and she came out with the first. And I'm like, you were worse than me. Like, you never studied, you did everything last minute. How did you get first? I hate you.
That's like unheard of.
I know, but she's really good, because she's like so smart, but she's just really down to earth. So she like she's not really like boasty about it. But yeah, she just came out and was just like, but that actually kind of was on my second thing. So there's obviously the stereotype that Asians, or the Asian community, or Asian parents always want their kids to be very academically smart, I guess, without a better word. And you know, like there's always that stereotype that if you're not doing well, or that if you're not getting the grades that they want, that's kind of frowned upon. Even if it's not your parents, it might be, you know, the aunties and stuff like that. Is that something that is that actually just a stereotype, or is that something that you also experienced?
No, it's very real. I feel when you're brown, you have 5 options when it comes to degrees. I've narrowed it down. You've got pharmacy, you've got medicine, dentistry, accounting, and lawyer. Okay, you get to choose between those 5. They give you 5 options, all right, so at least you get to choose. But I think the basis around it is more like your parents want you to have a good life. They want you to be successful. They want something safe. You know, they want something guaranteed for you once you come out of uni. So I think that's kind of the way that we see it. And also within our cultures as well, because our parents have worked so hard, they kind of expect us to do the same.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, it's like the family reputation thing, you know, like, oh, my son is a doctor. And then they ask you about yours. And she's like, yeah, oh, yeah, no, she didn't go to uni. She's doing an apprenticeship. And they're like, oh, she doesn't have a degree.
Yeah. I feel like times have
Oh.
changed though. Like it's not as important to get a
They
degree
are
as it
slowly
was.
changing.
Yeah.
I think with every aspect to when it comes to being in a Western country, when you're not, you know, originally from there, like the more generations that come from it, like we can still see like slow changes.
Yeah.
I mean, I've definitely seen that when I compare to the way that my parents were raised to how we were raised. Like, of course, there's still going to be those like stereotypes and traditional aspects of being Indian as well, but
Yeah.
it's not as bad as to them as what they were dealing with, because
Yeah.
you know it I guess, like, I mean, there is a lot of good and bad, and you know, I don't even know where I'm going with this, I'm not gonna lie. Next
It's all
question.
right.
Let's go.
Love it. So my third question then, from what you were saying before, really was just about, now that you know that you have ADHD, like how can you see, if at all, like how does that affect your work as a pharmacist, or how do you overcome them?
Yeah, so I think it's when people look at me and they're like, you're a pharmacist, but you have ADHD, like it doesn't make sense, because, you know, it's a very intense degree to get, and to also be a pharmacist, like, you know, it's a lot of thinking. So, you know, even me, I'm like, I don't even know. I don't even, like, am I even a good pharmacist? Like, I don't even know. You know, I'm there like Googling the maximum dose of paracetamol. I'm not. It was just a joke, guys, please. But I've been very fortunate that my line manager has been so great about this whole thing. Like, when I started, it was just after I'd gotten my diagnosis. And I feel because of how much it had impacted me, I was like, this is something that I have to let my employees know. And plus, I overshare everything. Like,
Yeah, me
my
too.
next door neighbor, who I probably speak to like once in a blue moon, like, oh, I have ADHD, by the way. Like, you know, it's either one or the other. Otherwise, you don't tell anyone, or you just overshare every little aspect of your life. So I told her about it, and within the first week of induction, she had found an ADHD in the workplace pack and went through it with me for 2 hours. And I sat there like crying at the end of it, because it was the first time in my whole life that anyone else besides me had acknowledged that this is something I'm struggling with. And not only that, they want to help me. So it was so much to take in.
That's
and
nice.
You know, she's an absolute angel, my line manager. Like, I've got so much love for her. She's so supportive, really understanding, very accommodating. So I think when it comes to ADHD in the workplace, I always say, tell your employer. Like, some people don't think they want to, they you know, they might get judged for it. They might be seen as less than because of it. So I do see the like hesitancy with explaining it. But at the end of the day, ADHD will impact you in every aspect of your life. And if you need that extra support, there is nothing wrong with it. And what is wrong with making your life a bit easier? I mean, if you had a physical disability, they would be doing things to make it easier. They'd be getting you like a special chair, or like, you know, giving you a disabled spot, things like that, you know. So why do we not see ADHD in the same way?
Agreed.
So yeah, like I've been in a lot of communication with her, and I think we're both learning, because this is the first job I've had where I've known this is my diagnosis, and it's made things like, okay, this is what's wrong, that's what's wrong, I can't do that, I can do that. So trying to understand my strengths and my weaknesses. And it takes time with a manager for them to understand that as well. Even you as well in a role, to see what suits you, what doesn't. And then, you know, over time we've like made accommodations and adjustments. Like, for me, she lets me start between the hours of 8 and 9. So whenever I get to work, I then just do my allocated time for that day and then leave, because in my induction, bro, I was late every day. Third week in, I was on the phone crying to her because I had forgotten to get change for the car park, and no one was helping me with a £1 coin.
Oh no.
And I was getting really stressed and I was crying. And she was like, it's all right, just go home. It's okay, you can work from home today. And I was like, thank you so much. And then after I got home, and she was like, I was just thinking, I was like, it's my third weekend. I'm literally crying about parking. Like, what is wrong with me? So, you know, little accommodations like that. She lets me work at home every now and then, which really helps, because when I go to the hospital site, like, being in the offices are very overstimulating. Like, there's bright lights, there's phones going off, people talking, there's printers, like, there's a lot, really. And it can be really, like, everything. I think it's an ADHD thing or an autism thing. It's that sensory overstimulation that you feel everything is in your head or it's just on you. So, you know, it can make it really difficult for me to focus when I have got, like, my pharmacy work to do, when all I'm there is sitting and I can just feel my bum. That's the only, I don't know how else to describe it. I can just feel my bum. I can hear what's her face next to me talking about what she's had for dinner last night. And even though she's 2 seats away from me, I can hear it in my ear. I can hear the electricity from upstairs.
Oh, yes.
I can smell the vinegar off that woman's chips in the corner. You know, the printer's going off. The phone, a ringing phone is literally, that will make me want to rip my ears off. And the phones are always going off in these offices. So yeah, I just end up getting like very angry. And I'm just like, I have to go home. So she lets me do that. And yeah, like, it's a lot of communication with it as well. So like, I think the funniest thing is, like, so she knows that I struggle with organization and tasks and stuff. So she recommended a planner. You know, that's the one thing which I always think is going to help, is a planner. But you know what? She's so sweet. She genuinely thought it was like going to help, because it's helped, like, you know, if she actually struggles with these things as well. So it's helped her, this particular planner. I went to go look at it. It was £40. I was like,
no.
Woman, we're in a cost of living crisis. Anyone, we just spent £40 on paper. With some floral cover. But yeah, so I basically found like another one which is half the price. And you know, I was using it at work with her, and she was watching me, and then she was like, why do you write stuff in it and then put it back in your bag? And I was like, I don't know, isn't that what you're meant to do? And she's like, but then how do you remember what you're going to do if you write it and then put it away? And I was like, that's a good point, actually.
Yeah, because I don't remember it.
Yeah, so she was just like, no wonder you've never benefited from planners, because you just write it and then put it back in your bag. Like, it makes sense. So she's got me in the habit now of having my planner open next to me all the time, which, you know what, is such a simple step, but it makes all the difference.
Yeah, that is very true.
Yeah, now she's you know, I feel really bad, because she's always reminding me to do things. She's like, oh, did you do that? And I'm just like, no. I'm really sorry. Yeah, it's taken me like 2 weeks to get through this training which she's asked me to do, because it's very boring. I cannot sit there. But that's another thing as well. She lets me, there's some really boring, tedious tasks I have to do. She gives me more time and lets me do it in like little increments. But she sends, we're now looking into setting up some kind of software that she can send me tasks and on my laptop, and then they kind of like ping up, because that's what I need. And I need it in my face to just tell me to do it. So we're trying to get that sorted with IT, that kind of thing as well. But she also, like I said to her, that I get very bored. You know, I need to be like constantly stimulated with lots of things. So she allows me to work on like a number of different things within my role, which is really, really great. So it kind of keeps me busy, keeps me doing things. And she lets me handle a lot of complex patient queries, because I think it was another aspect of problem solving we absolutely love it. Like, so yeah, that's my favorite part of the job, is like, you know, if you give me a patient, the most complex patient ever, I'm just like, yes,
find it.
Absolutely love it. I know. I got this patient the other day. Do you know what? Every time I see a patient who's either got diagnosed ADHD or waiting, I'm just like, right, my time to shine, babe. This is my time. You know, it's like whenever anyone mentions ADHD at work, I feel like it's my name, and I literally just turn around. I'm like, yeah, can I help?
You spoke.
So yeah, there was this patient who was waiting for a diagnosis, and the psychiatrist was talking about using a second generation antipsychotic to potentially help her ADHD symptoms. And I was like, that's really interesting. I didn't know antipsychotics could help that. So of course, I sat there for 3-4 hours looking up on it. I gave the best email to him, by the way. He absolutely loved it. It was really good. But yeah, there's no like there's no clinical basis, but it's very interesting because, antipsychotics also work on the dopamine receptors. But
Right.
if you think about it, they block them. And
Yeah.
ADHD medication does the opposite. So
Opposite.
you would think it would do the opposite effect. But without making it too complicated, second generation antipsychotics, the newer ones, they don't always block dopamine receptors. They work on other receptors as well.
Right.
And this
So,
particular one, which he was looking into, didn't actually work on receptors in the prefrontal cortex, which is where ADHD is affected. So that was the kind of basis. And I was like, wow, this is super interesting. But yeah, sorry, I've like gone off on one.
I'm sure
yeah.
everybody has just started to search, to Google whatever it is that you're saying. Because I'm like holding my hands so that I don't move.
It's really fascinating. Like, I sound like such a geek, but it's so
it's what you
interesting.
like. It's what you like. And I completely get that. Like, I love to talk about everything I like. Like, if you want to talk about electric cars, I can continue to talk about electric cars.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I remember. It was like half an hour. You talked about your car.
Yeah. And every month, we had like my company's Australian, so every month we have like a team meeting where all of the team in Australia, all the team in the UK have one call, and we, let each other know what we've been doing with our months in our personal lives. And every month, I'm like, I don't remember what I've done this month. And then one of my colleagues will go, Shauna, didn't you do this? Or has your car come yet? And then I'll be like, oh yeah, and I did this, and I did this. And then literally my boss said to me the other day, Shauna, I feel like you always say you didn't do anything and then explain all of the things that you did. And I was like,
I know. Sorry. Yeah, that's the worst question. I hate it. Like, people are just like, so what have you done with this week?
Nothing.
And I'm just like, I literally cannot tell you. I got out of bed.
I don't know what I ate for lunch, so why am I going to know what I did in a month?
Literally.
Okay, so I can see why you obviously it's really important for us to be in professions that we enjoy. And I know that we're talking a long time, so I still have loads of questions for you. So I'm gonna move on, and I'm gonna ask you a bit more about. We're gonna go back to what you were saying before, just because I feel like we've touched on it a lot, so we probably can get past this question quite quickly. But we were talking about kind of how mental health is received in culture now. We've had a lot of people of Black descent, either Caribbean or African, who have similar responses from family members when they've discussed or broached the subject of having a mental health condition or a mental health diagnosis. And it's not necessarily always received as belief that you do have something. And I'm wondering what your experience has been with, obviously you mentioned your dad was on your side, so we know what daddy's like. But that doesn't, again, both Black and Asian families, they're normally quite big, and aunties and uncles always have a say as well. So it's not really just the response of your parents. And I'd love to know how you find talking about mental health, not necessarily even your condition, but mental health with your family members, both immediate and extended.
So I would say things have probably got a little bit better. But I think there is just that lack of understanding. And, because, for example, I think the biggest issues I probably had was with my mum. Like, she is an absolutely amazing woman. Like, she's done so much. She works so hard, but she just didn't understand why I was so upset and so down. And this is what I think is the issue when it comes to our parents' generation, is because they have been through so much to get to where they are at this moment. And they feel that they've given us the life that they have always dreamed of. And to them, it's like, you have everything. Why are you upset? And then they then feel like you're ungrateful for it. But what they just don't seem to understand is you could be a billionaire with literally everything any person could want. But if you are depressed, you are depressed. Like, you cannot control it. Like, and this is the really hard thing for them to try and understand, is like, it does not matter how much you have. It's within our hormones, it's within our brains. Like, it's just, it can also be genetic as well. So I think that's why there's that lack of understanding. I also feel like, particularly with Indian culture, I don't know if this is similar with your culture as well, But it's like back in the day, women just weren't allowed to have emotions, you know? It's like get off in arranged marriages, have your kids, be a housewife. If you're sad, if you're unhappy, does not matter
Mm.
because our family's reputation is on the line. You need to make your husband happy. That's what we've given birth to you for. We have brought you up to be a housewife, to be a mother. That's what you need to do.
Mm.
So they just kind of ended up suppressing it all or like, you know, just dealing with it and not actually
Yeah.
acknowledging that, you know, if they had a mental health struggle, that it was one, they just had to get on with it. And this was normal life for them. So then they have that, you know, that's what they think. So then when it comes to like having kids who potentially have mental health problems, because that's their opinion on it, they then say that to like their kids without realizing how hurtful it is. You know, just get
Mm.
on with it. You know, I had to do ABC. You have this. Why are you like, just get on with it. I
It's
don't know what you're
definitely always
complaining
that
about.
comparison, isn't it? Well, I
Yeah,
did
it's
this, I did this. Well, I've
that
had to
toxic
live through this.
comparison.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, you know, it's a really difficult conversation to try and have because if you're there trying to fight your corner, it looks like you're dismissing what they've been through. But
Yeah.
then if they're trying to justify why they're thinking that, it's like they're dismissing you.
Mm.
So it's a very difficult conversation to have sometimes. And, you know, it just I don't sometimes I feel bad when I say these things because it's like I'm talking bad about my, you know, my mom or like my parents and stuff, but it's not that. It's just there needs to be a more awareness, more understanding. Like society has changed so much. Like the awareness of mental health has grown so much. Like even back when I was at uni, which was, oh my God, like I started uni 10 years ago. Sorry, I need a moment. Like, oh my
Sorry,
God.
you're saying this. I
10 years
started
ago,
uni more
like,
than 10 years ago.
I
I
know, but I was
I
just, yeah, it
finished
was
uni 10 years ago.
but you know, I still don't feel like I'm my age, you know, like I'm still struggling to just adult. And now I'm just like, it's been 10 years since I started uni. Anyway, oh God, I forgot where I was going with this.
We were
Do you remember what I
talking,
was talking about?
yes, we were talking about, and now I said, yes, I'm gonna forget it. Oh, damn it. Yes, we were talking, oh, right, yes, okay. So we're kind of talking about intergenerational trauma and passing on that trauma from between generations.
Oh, I know what I was going to say.
Yeah,
Yeah. So basically, even back when I was at uni, there wasn't that much awareness about mental health, even
yeah,
then, really. So it's grown so much, especially in the last 5 years, particularly with all this stuff with COVID and stuff. And then now you have such a growing awareness of ADHD, which it's never really been a thing. Like even 3, 4 years ago,
yeah,
it was not really a thing. So now it's so big. And because we live in a society where we're so accepting, so, you know, we understand and people can be themselves, you know, like people can speak about their sexuality, they can speak about their beliefs, they can speak about what makes them happy and not feel judged to a point. Because I know
mm,
obviously the world isn't a great place, but to a point it has improved. And
yeah,
that's why they just can't seem to fathom it because it wasn't really there with their generation. And I
yeah.
always say this, you know, I feel like when we become parents, there's going to be something like this that we just don't understand. I have this prediction, I don't even know if it's right, but I feel there's going to be some lunatic who's going to try and marry their cat or dog. And then that is going to be a thing. People are going to start coming out as wanting to marry their pets.
Oh
And we're going to have a chat with our sons and daughters who are trying to propose to their pets. Like, honestly, I don't know
No,
why. I've got
do you
this
know what
theory.
though? There is a theory that neurodivergent people are very prophetic. Now, I believe I'm very prophetic, and it's funny because
What
me
does
and my
that word mean?
so yeah, we can like predict the future. Like we can like not
Oh,
predict it, but you can kind of see things because we see different things differently. You can kind of go, this is going to
yeah.
be happening. So at the beginning of the pandemic, I basically ran through everything pretty much. What was going to happen. Like,
Really?
yeah, like people were like, oh yeah, blah, 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 but children don't this and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, yeah, but X, Y, Z. I can't even remember what those things are now. But then a
Yeah,
year
I was
later,
just
and it
going to
was
say, be
true.
careful. The FBI will be knocking on your
You
door.
know,
Have you
that's
seen
why I'm
that?
living, you know, and it was kind of like, the views and the opinions that we have about things, we tend to do things. So one of the examples I can remember is actually me and my mum. Me and my mum have very in-depth conversations about nothing and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So we it was at the time that there was the whole Meghan and Harry were engaged and they were like
Mm-hmm.
announcing themselves to the world. And we basically just turned to each other and was like, they're gonna leave the royal family. They're gonna do this. Then
No
they'll become
way.
irrelevant. We literally
Yeah.
just was like saying it all, and then a year later, 2 years later, we would be like, "Do you remember when we were having that conversation?" And they'd be
Wow.
like, "Yeah." And it happens all the time with me and my mum, and I'm pretty sure that I got ADHD from her. So that I'm putting her down in the neurodivergent tick box. So, yeah, it's been, you never know. Maybe we could start, having our children wanting to marry cats. I mean, there is in Japan, they have a declining birth rate. This is the whole ADHD random facts thing. They have a declining birth rate. And I watched a piece where they were exploring what young people, I guess around our age now, were doing. And they weren't actually like having sex. They were like having virtual relationships with a computer woman.
Oh, but that's going to be a thing, AI and all of that. Like, I'm
Well,
not
I
even
feel like Japan
surprised.
and like China and that side of the world is always a step ahead of everyone
Yeah,
else.
very
So
technology advanced. I mean, if
yeah,
we had that kind of stuff here, I guarantee that people are weird. I wouldn't even be surprised. Like, I mean, it's hard to date. So sometimes I'm like, okay, you know what? You do you.
yeah. Like, do you know what?
Like,
If that makes you happy, like, but yeah. So I mean, the last thing that we have to talk about then, would be Little Miss ADHD. So now we know everything about Priyanka. We know that what you do for a job, where you come from, where you lived. I'm surprised
God,
we don't
I've
know.
said a lot, haven't I?
At this point, I'm surprised I don't know mummy and daddy's name. Um, but obviously, something drove you to create the Little Miss ADHD persona. What got you to be like, I need to do this. I need to be out there. And I guess this is where our social media talk will kind of come in.
Yeah.
What sparked Little Miss ADHD?
So, I already had a TikTok account already where there wasn't really like a kind of criteria or like what's the word category, if anything, of the content that I was posting. It was just like, my dog being a pharmacist, having alopecia, crying every day, just those kind of things. There just wasn't like any consistency. And then I just started like just posting stuff about ADHD and things. And then I then came to be aware that I was not the only woman who had gone through what I had in terms of being missed off for 2 years, not being listened to, feeling like a failure within society because you're not living up to the expectations of being a typical woman. Even harder for us of color with the kind of expectations that come with it. So I was like, it was a very bittersweet moment because it's like, people can relate to me. It's great. I'm not alone. But also, this is really sad that there are also so many other women who are dealing with this.
Yeah.
And then I remember I was so I was at work and I received an email about some research opportunities, and I love doing research. Like, it's a very weird thing for someone with ADHD to do. Like, you're going to read through all these papers, really? But for some reason, like, it's because I can piece all the information together and like kind of create my own thing. And if it's something which I enjoy, then I will do it really, really well. Like back when I was at uni, I did a project on medication errors in prisons, so it was so interesting. I remember going out there. It's literally like Prison Break. I'm not even joking. It is very interesting.
Wow.
But that's a whole lot. Like, I'm going to stop right there because I'm going to go off on a tangent. So yeah, I had an opportunities within my NHS trust. So I reached out and I was just like, oh my God, it was like a light bulb moment. I was like, I want to do research. What do I have a passion about? ADHD. What do I want to make a change with? So I was like, let me combine those two. So I emailed and I was just like, I've got a great idea. Can we set up a call? Like, I'm not even joking. I felt like I was a manic woman at that point. Like, my boyfriend had just come home from the gym, absolutely exhausted. And I was there just like jumping around. I was like, look what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. So yeah, I got so excited. Like, I was literally messaging all my friends and I was just like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Like, I was feeling so positive because I'd gone through so much of my life not having purpose. Like, I was like, what am I doing here? What is the point? I want to be able to help people. I want to do something to be worth, just make it worth everything in a sense, have a drive to be alive. so yeah, they were open to kind of me pitching my idea in a sense. And then I made a video on TikTok about how I transformed my life. And the way I like to say it is ADHD nearly killed me, but it's now my reason to live. Because if I had not, sorry?
It's a nice way to put it.
Yeah, it's very impactful, I think.
Yeah.
It is.
It's on the nose.
Yeah. To think though, like at the start of August, like I didn't want to be here. And I was thinking of all the ways to not be here, to then completely transform my life. It's like everyone says to me, like, I can't believe how much of a change has happened. And so I posted that video saying, like, I'm going to do this to try and help other women. And it ended up receiving quite a lot of attention. And then I was like, you know what? I'm a pharmacist. Like, I should really speak about ADHD from a healthcare point of view. I think people will find it really useful, really interesting. So this is really funny as well. So I had an Instagram account, which used to be my personal. Then I made it into a fitness account. Then I made it into a nail account when I became absolutely obsessed with learning how to do acrylic nails. And now it's my ADHD account, which I hope is going to be the one it's going to stick to forever. And I remember when I literally was there like deleting all the posts, like hoping no one was going to notice. And so I made a new one. I was like, hi guys, I'm sorry. Another change again for you guys who've been here since the start. So yeah, and then I've just been using that account to like make content, educating people, raising awareness. But because I know what kind of stuff resonates with people who are neurodivergent, my content is very simple. It's very visually, what's the word? Like, the word's not coming to me.
Aesthetically pleasing?
Yeah, you can say it like that. Yeah, you can say it like that. Yeah, because I like to make I make cartoons. I love cartoons, so I make like cartoons with it. All these nice colors, everything. So I make it quite light-hearted as well. So that's like my Instagram account, and then with my TikTok, it is ADHD related as well, but it covers a lot more stuff. Like my Instagram is very more like factual and explaining things, and it sounds really boring when I'm saying it, but I think
it's more interesting than it sounds.
Yeah, because I feel there is a lot of really good content on Instagram for people who have ADHD accounts, but I feel that there is a gap to actually understand what ADHD is actually about. So like one of my last posts, which I think was actually really great, was I'd actually created little doodles and designs of like the nerves. And I was explaining how methylphenidate actually helps increase dopamine in the body. And people were loving it. Like there was this one girl who said, like, I have learned more in those 5 slides that you posted than in a whole lecture at uni. And that made me feel amazing. But, it's like putting out information that's so simplified, but it's still getting the same impact in a sense. So I really want to educate people. And, I've got so many plans for other posts and everything, like to do about, the sciencey stuff and make it interesting and make it fun. But yeah, like, my TikTok has been getting a bit more attention as well. And, I'm so happy to have made these social media pages because it's introduced me to this community with people like yourselves, like, I feel when you have ADHD, it's so amazing to finally meet someone else with it.
Yeah.
It's like, it feels like, in a way, like imagine like you're like a circus freak in the normal world, and then you finally found the circus.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh, we're all the same.
Yeah,
I'm not weird. It's not just me. Like everyone understands each other. We all have these little quirks about ourselves. Like, and I feel people with ADHD, like, I'm sorry, we're amazing. We're so funny. We're so caring. Are you okay? I feel like throughout this podcast, you've just been injuring yourself so much.
My bone's just telling me how old I am. That's all.
So I stick it under one of the many hot water bottles you've got. That'll be fine.
There we go.
But yeah, anyways, I was just raving about how amazing we are because, I think neurodivergent people see the world in a very different way.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have a great sense of humor. We're very caring, very empathetic. We are just really unique people. And that's why sometimes, like, I know people get annoyed with the whole, like, ADHD is a superpower thing. And I do get why it can be really infuriating because most of the time ADHD is the worst thing to have, but there are some really good traits about it, which, we should learn to embrace and should learn to love about ourselves because it makes us very unique and it makes us wonderful human beings.
Yeah.
And I feel like because of my ADHD, that's why I'm going to be able to do so much within, like my career and my job, because I've got the passion, I've got the care. And, like I'm currently going to apply for an internship for research. Everyone who's listening, please put me in your prayers because I really want this. Basically, to thank you, to look and do a scoping review. I'm not going to go into what it is because I don't even know exactly what it is. To look at medicine's management and the role of non-medical prescribers, because
Right.
I feel that is a reason as to why there is so much overwhelm with these ADHD services, because the only prescribers they have are nurse medical prescribers and psychiatrists. And it's like, bro, why are you not utilizing people like me, the experts in medicines, when we do have the opportunity to become prescribers already? So why are we not going into this field?
It's funny as well, like you saying that, because how you described your role earlier, it seems to me like your role, your position would be in the perfect place for something like ADHD, where, like you said, we are on a spectrum. Everything is different. It sounds like someone in your position would be better at getting the right prescription for people with ADHD, because you can then be like, okay, we're going to do this and we're going to do this, and you can balance it. And I think you probably have the scope to do that if you're just doing this. So it's quite interesting you say that, because now that you explained what it is that you do, I actually feel like you should be utilized.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my plan. I'm going to get my prescribing license next year. Well, hopefully. I mean, I'm going to, just kind of keep pestering my chief of pharmacy until she gets me the funding. So that's the plan. And then I'm going to try and become a prescriber within this field, because it's very, very simple things like, for example, a GP, if you know someone is getting an assessment for ADHD, why are you prescribing them an SSRI antidepressant? Because these types of antidepressants, they are going to increase the serotonin. But sometimes when you increase that serotonin, it decreases the dopamine. And that's what we need.
There's no balance.
So you're worsening their ADHD symptoms. You need to find an antidepressant that's not going to affect the dopamine. It's little things like that, because I feel sometimes when it comes to the way that prescribing is done, they do it very rigidly. They have to follow the rules. They have to follow, the ABC. You got to go down that way. You need to start treating people as patients. Do things which aren't necessarily meant to be the right way, as long as it makes sense and it's safe, and you're actually treating the patients and taking everything into consideration. But it's little things like being able to help patients manage their medication. And, if they've got side effects, what can we do to deal with it? Is there a different type of time of day you can have it? Is there anything that you're taking which is actually interacting with the medicine? Little things like, coffee can actually worsen ADHD medication. And, when you have medication and sometimes you get towards the end of the day and you're starting to feel really irritable and stuff, it's because obviously all that dopamine is leaving your body. And then you then get into this mindset thinking, okay, it's not working for me. It's not working for me. Your dose gets upped. But what you need to start doing is you need to start implementing more dopamine releasing habits into your lifestyle, because once we get on medication, the things we were doing before, we don't have to do them. So then when we get to the evening, because we weren't doing those things anymore, it's like dopamine levels are all the way down.
You're like, oh yeah, so, I need to remember all of my executive
there's so much, even with like supplements, and there's things like L-tyrosine or like 5-HTP. These are like amino acid precursors which help increase. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. Yeah, they help increase the production of dopamine and serotonin in the body, because these dopamine and serotonin, you can't put them into the brain. Like, they have to get synthesized into that as well. So these sometimes help go through all the metabolism and all of that to make that as well. And not a lot of people know this, but people with ADHD do tend to have a lot of deficiencies in certain vitamins, minerals, and they're starting to make that connection. Like, I'm going to be making posts on this and stuff because I find it super fascinating. But omega-3, magnesium, guys, get those supplements up. Those are two of the main ones that I've heard which are good for us, because there are so many things which can impact the way your brain functions. It's insane. So, and did you know 90% of your serotonin is made in the gut? That's why it's so important to have a good
but I only know this because somebody else did the research.
Yeah, it's so important. And then you think, it makes sense. Like there are actually, that's why they always say have a healthy diet, and you just think, nah, like, I'm fine with the way I look. Like,
Mm.
it's not, but it affects your mental health. It affects the way your brain works. It's crazy. Like
Yeah,
there is a nerve that goes from your gut all the way to the brain.
no way.
And, that's another thing which I'm going to look into as well, is about gut health and like mental health and ADHD, all
So
that.
it's
It's so
funny you said
fascinating.
this because like we had she's not like a specialist or anything like that, and we'll be probably doing more episodes on gut health and like just general wellness. But we did a podcast episode with a lady named Penny Jarrett. I have the number somewhere, but yeah, she is the lady of adrenaline. Wellness with the Lady of Adrenaline, which is Penny Jarrett, and that is her nickname. And we actually talked about that. So our creative director, Kessie, she's really into gut health, and she was like going in on this.
Wow.
And that's how I got the L-tyrosine as well, is because of that episode. But yes, absolutely. I learned so much that day that we will be doing more of that as well. So if you are happy to share all of that with us, please do.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I'm gonna be making some posts as well. So I'll share with you as well, like some of the studies if you want to read them, because I know it's a lot, but I'll share with you like all the stuff which I found, because it's so fascinating. I mean, I'm looking into stuff about the vagus nerve as well, because there is a lot of there's a connection of the vagus nerve to your brain, and there is a link with ADHD symptoms as well. So being able to kind of activate the vagus nerve might lead to potentially helping relieve some symptoms. Like there is so much out there. It's crazy. Like I genuinely feel like every single day I learn something new. And it's so fascinating how there's so much stuff out there. And, this is why I want to use my page, because I have the capacity to do that. I don't know how to kind of, I'm the one who can read all of these things, and then I can put it into bite-sized chunks and then put it on my social media pages. So it's simplified and easy for everyone to understand. So yeah, because I think it's so important. Like for people who are waiting for medication, especially like yourself, they want to know what else can they do to help alleviate their symptoms. Are there any natural ways to do that? Are there any supplements? What else can they be doing? And I think there is a very, very big need for this kind of information, because fortunately we can't rely on our NHS right now. It's if you are waiting to get an assessment, it is the most awful thing. And I think what you have done is a very, very smart decision, because being in that limbo of not knowing if it is ADHD or if it's something else is horrible.
Absolutely.
Because you just don't have an answer. No. Like it's so difficult to understand if you are genuinely just a useless human.
Gassing yourself up. Like.
Yeah, literally. Is that useless human, or if you just have a deficiency of dopamine? Like which one is it? Like yeah.
No, I'm just lazy.
Exactly. Like it's a very, very tough time. And like, even before I got my diagnosis and I had an idea, it is very difficult to manage, because you feel like you're constantly having to defend yourself as well to other people, because they're like, no, it's not it. Like you've not even got your diagnosis yet. What are you on about? And it's like, you don't even have you don't have a leg to stand on because you've not got it yet. And I think that's, it can really worsen the mental health as well. Like this is something which I'm trying to explain to people when it comes to mental health as well, and why they need to take ADHD seriously. Like I really feel they have to review the whole NHS system, because I don't know who is the big boss up there who's giving them money, because I feel they put so much money into like diabetes, cancer, heart, like all of those. I'm not dismissing them, they're very important, but there is no money for ADHD services, because why else would they be this overwhelmed to the point of having 3 to 4 years waiting list? You will not hear that anywhere else. And it's because people don't understand how debilitating the condition is. You think of someone with ADHD, you think, oh, okay, they're running around, they might be a bit, in the clouds, they won't listen. It's all right, they'll be fine.
It's one thing when you're a child and you don't have any responsibilities, though. It's a whole other thing
when you're an
adult.
It's so hard. Yeah, like there's increased risk of suicide, increased risk of addictions, like
especially in people of color.
Debt. Sorry?
Especially in people of color.
Yes, exactly. Like, unfortunately, we have drawn the short straw with some of these things. And, being an ethnic woman, it's like double whammy when it comes to these kind of things, So I just don't think they understand the significance and importance of what it's like to actually have ADHD.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to do like little bits here and there, what I can, because so there's two things. So at the moment, the clinic which I actually got diagnosed with are shutting down. So imagine, take a guess of how many people that leaves waiting because of that.
10K.
Okay, they're very dramatic. I thought I was going to be really impactful. You know what? Okay, never mind. This
I
is
don't know
plot.
what's big and not.
Yeah, no. Anyway, it's 6,000. Like, it's still a lot of amount, but you kind of like.
Oh man! Oh, I just should have gone like 3,000. Can we go
I
back?
thought you
Can we
would
go
have
back?
said something like that, but
Do you know what? I'm very prophetic. You see what I mean? I just knew where you were going with that.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, like, still 6,000
Yeah,
people. That's a lot to
it
leave in
is.
limbo. So I messaged my chief of pharmacy, and I was just like, "What are we gonna do? I want to be involved in this."
Yeah.
So she is actually really excited to have me on board because she knows how passionate I am about this. This is another reason why I love working for my trust. They are so open to you doing what you're passionate about and supporting that and everything. So, you know, at the moment, I think they're trying to gather data on how to actually set this up, because you have to put people through important training. So it's like, where are you going to get these people from? Are you going to take psychiatrists out from other roles? Are you going to be hiring new nurses and then training them up? What are you going to do? So I think they're trying to get information on that. So as a person who, I feel like I'm quite a unique person in the sense that I'm a patient, but I also work for that service as well. So I can be like, look, this is what we don't like. Stop giving us 2 weeks to fill back forms. Stop giving us long forms that we have no help with. You know, stop leaving us in limbo. Give us some kind of time frame. Give us some kind of support whilst we're waiting for this assessment. Have some kind of well-being phone calls, people there to give us tips and tricks to kind of manage ADHD whilst we're waiting. They need to start doing these things. So I'm going to be there like, right, you need to start doing this, because it will give you basic better patient care. And then this is also where it all ties in with the stuff about non-medical prescribers, because I'm going to be like, yo, like, employ me, train me up, get me that, you know, start utilizing other people, you know, start getting more pharmacists in, because, you know, if you can start freeing up time like that, like, imagine you can have a psychiatrist who can diagnose, decide what medication a patient wants, but then you can have a pharmacist who is perhaps, you know, handling the titration and managing that. And if there's anything significant, they can, of course, refer it over to the psychiatrist.
You have to have like checkups anyway, don't you? So it's
exactly.
not like...
So being able to free that appointment can free up for someone else to see them. So it's little things like this, which I'm trying to do. And I'm allowed to get on with some training for the home treatment teams. My line managers allowed me to do that. So I'm going to do it around like medicines, but throwing a bit of ADHD in there. I was like, just a little bit, just a little bit in there. Yeah. She wasn't even surprised when she saw the plan. She's not surprised at all. But she was just like, make sure you do, like, you know, the important med stuff first, and then of course do your ADHD bits, but do the more like med stuff first. I was like, yeah. Because the way I see it is exactly like the way I see it is like, we deal with patients who are in mental health crisis. So if you can spot certain signs, you know, you go to a patient's house, right? It's not been cleaned in weeks. You know, she's not remembering what she ate last night. She's in financial debt. She has literally spent the last 10 minutes looking for her phone. You know, I'm not saying that is all a diagnosis, but it's trying to notice these little signs that could potentially be like, maybe she should get an assessment, because then that is helping that patient not deteriorate. Because it could even be that she's in such a bad mental state because she's not treated for her ADHD. That was me.
Yeah.
Like, I was in a really bad mental state, and it was because of undiagnosed ADHD, which led me to be depressed because of the undiagnosed ADHD. You know, and there could be so many patients in crisis who are like that. So being able to notice these things when you go on the home visits, to be like, oh, you know what, maybe she does need an assessment.
Yeah.
And then, you know, patients who are waiting for assessments, review their medication. Is any of this stuff actually aggravating ADHD symptoms? Like I said about the antidepressants, you know, if they're on antipsychotics, that is going to aggravate ADHD symptoms and make it worse. You need to look at changing that medication. So, you know, it's so important, like everything. There's so many links with ADHD. And this was another thing which I wanted to mention as well. Like, they have mental health support for diabetes. Like, I'm not dismissing that. Like, but yeah, exactly. Like, I'm seeing your face. Like, okay, all right, it's hard having diabetes. I guess it can be hard. Like, I don't have diabetes. I don't know anyone with it, so I don't know what they're going through. There is no mental health support with ADHD, and this is such a problem. They separate mental health and they separate ADHD, and someone who has both gets constantly battered back and forth. Like,
yeah.
when I went to counseling and I said what I needed help with, they're like, oh, but that's ADHD related. We can't help with that. You need to go back to your clinic. Went to the clinic. Oh, no. You need counseling. Like, we can't help you with that. And I'm just like, right, okay. Is there anyone who's going to be able to help me with ADHD related mental health? Is there anyone out there? And this is another change that
even
has
just
to be
trying
made.
to find a therapist who is affordable and can deal with ADHD as adults is very thin. Like,
have you ever had CBT, by the way, if you don't mind me asking? Have you ever experienced it?
No, I haven't. Like, kind of was doing it, and then I ran out of money, so I need to get my ass in gear and get my PIP application sorted, because that's long and takes 2 weeks, and well, I've only got 2 weeks to do it, so I'm like, oh, I better have the whole 2 weeks so that I like be in a good place. But yeah, that's not going to happen. But yeah, no, so I kind of like just been doing a lot of things for myself, trying different apps. So obviously go through apps. So I've tried like Inflow, which is kind of like a CBT ADHD app where you can kind of do it through that.
I keep seeing that pop up my Instagram, but I'm just like, is it a scam? Because sometimes you download these apps and you go through all these like questions, and they're like, you think that they're really trying to get to know you and everything, and it's like, right, do you want the answers? $7.99 a month. So I'm just like,
yes, okay, so yes, you have to pay for it. It's kind of like a course. So I obviously didn't. I stopped. I started ignoring the notifications, as you do. But I found it on Attitude, which is obviously quite a reputable ADHD app. And they actually sponsor Attitude or sponsor their webinar or something like that. So in the newsletters, it's always in there, and that's where I found it. And so I thought it would be a bit more reputable. There is a financial aspect to it. Yeah, so you have to pay for it, and then they do like a trial, and then it's essentially like every day you do like a set task. So it would be like, you're learning about this. Okay, did you have any negative things? How can we change that? And they kind of do take you through step by step. And then there's this new app, which I'm going to look, because I can't remember the name, that I found the other day, which is also kind of helping manage ADHD symptoms, which would also kind of be CBT. It's called ADHD Numo. And that one is free as far as I'm aware. There is like more, there's stuff you can get on 3-1, and there's ones that you pay for, and I've already been ignoring it, so I'm probably not going to finish that trial.
The only reason I'm asking you that is because CBT is one of the therapies that's suggested to help ADHD, and I have tried it 3 times now, and I am just like, this is the most unfriendly ADHD therapy ever. Like, let me give you an example. Like, I had this lady tell me to go dress like I'm going to see my grandma when I didn't have motivation. And I was like, okay. Then they give you all these mood diaries. And I'm just like, you think I can sit there and write things out whilst I'm having a breakdown? I mean, even anyone who's suffering mental health problems, like, sorry, what? And they give you such rigid appointments, and it's like, right, between the hours of 9 and 12, you have to make this one appointment every 2 weeks. And if you don't make the appointment, they just give it away. You don't have the appointment. And it's like, lady, I work, I have a job. Like, how are we meant to do this? And
also it's kind of ableist as well. It's
very ableist.
You have memory issues. Come on.
Yes. Okay, don't get me started. Wait, I want to make this one point, and then I'm going to get back to that. Right. And then it's those poxy questionnaires. It's so long, and you have to rate all of this stuff, and then it's a half an hour session, and you spend so long just running through the questionnaires, like, oh, you rated 3 on that today, you're doing a little bit better now. Yeah, it's just like, you spend so much time on that stuff, and then when you finally try and have a talk about the real stuff, it's like you don't have a chance to do it. So for me, CBT was just like, But yeah, speaking about the other bits which you were mentioning, so when I had a first appointment, I told her exactly what I needed and stuff. And that was where she was like, oh, I don't know if I can really help you. So I was just like, right, well, can you at least, is there anything you can do? So she was like, well, we can try do this and stuff. And I was like, listen, like, I've waited a year for this. Like, I might as well just try it.
Mm.
And then I missed her phone call because I forgot and I was working.
Mm.
And then she left me a voicemail. And of course, I got distracted, busy with other things. And then I randomly remembered the next day to listen to the voicemail in which she said to me, "You need to get back to us on Friday." She left the voicemail on Wednesday. She's like, "You need to get back to us by Friday, otherwise we're gonna have to discharge you." And when I'd listened to that voice note, I was literally like walking into work. So I was like, I've got stuff to do. I can't ring them right now. And then what is going to happen with someone with ADHD? Are they going to be able to do that? So yeah, I got discharged, and that is ableism at its finest.
Yeah. Our founder tells a similar story. Like, she got discharged from, I think, titration because she forgot appointments, and it's like,
you can't do. You're an ADHD service, for crying out loud. Oh my god, yeah. See what I mean? Like, even the ADHD services sometimes aren't being like, that. I've forgotten the word.
ADHD friendly.
Yeah. Just put it like that. Yeah. Like, it's like that, and then you wonder why we get so frustrated, why we're so angry at the world, and like, why we just feel so misunderstood and let down. And it's because everything seems to be working against us. And I feel now, as a society, we have got some big changes to make, and as people who are kind of the face of others who have ADHD and are raising awareness for them, we kind of have that responsibility as well to like fight for each other and say, like, look, this is important. You have to actually consider these things. You need to be aware about this. Like, ADHD isn't all fun and games. It's not all quirky. It's not trendy. Like, I can't imagine anyone with ADHD who can genuinely sit there and think, I'm so glad I have this. Like, it's great. It's fun. Like, it's not fun.
No.
It's horrible. Do you think I locked myself at the house 3 times?
Oh.
My boyfriend had to call a locksmith. We had to pay over £200.
Oh,
the other time he had to come home from work and let me in the house. And I had to go have tea with my neighbor who I'd not spoken to in months. And it was so awkward. These things, it's just like a daily occurrence to us. And it's so frustrating. It's like, why do I keep doing this? Why does this keep happening? Yeah. I can't just function as a average, normal, like, human being.
My worst thing, because I work from home, so I'm always at home. And my thing that's getting on from, like, my worst nerves, that people just don't understand exactly how frustrating it is. I'm really tired of walking into rooms and just not knowing why I'm there. Like,
literally, it's like a sim whose action gets cancelled, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, and I'm never in the right place that I need to be. Like, I'll walk into the kitchen and I'll be like, what am I doing? Okay, like I was explaining the other day, I was recording a separate podcast to this one, but we were talking about what is the most ADHD thing you've done this week. And my ADHD thing was, I went into the living room, got my mug, and instead of going to the pantry to get ice or the kitchen to get the juice, I walked upstairs.
I did that at work, but I walked into the toilet with the mug.
Yeah, I was
there staring at myself.
And I'm like, right.
In the mirror, like...
like, yeah, but... okay, I'm just going to turn around now. Like, I'm so tired of just being like, why am I here? Like, I found myself in the garden and I'm like, why am I here? It's cold. Go back inside.
Do you know what? Sometimes, if this didn't happen all the bloody time, it could be quite funny. Like, it could be quite funny.
Yeah.
But when it's constantly happening, it gets so annoying because you're wasting time, you're wasting money, like, you're wasting mental effort. It's, that's why I don't think people take ADHD seriously, because, if you look at the symptoms, I get it. Like, you look at the symptoms, like, oh, that doesn't seem too bad. Like, they're not listening, a bit forgetful, a bit hyperactive, a bit impulsive. Like, yeah, it's not that bad. But it's so debilitating.
Yeah, especially when you see your bank balance.
Don't, please. Like, I literally was there crying to my boyfriend. Like, okay, let's skip. Let's skip.
Yeah, let's move it. I'm passing comments. Seriously, don't want to go there.
Just avoid that.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like all of these little things that you have to like do. Like, I've got whiteboards everywhere because I just need to write it down when it's in front of me, and if it's not there, then it's not there. Like,
that's a good thing. That's actually a good idea.
Whiteboards everywhere. I'm trying to convince my partner to get this like photo a digital photo frame that's basically like just like a huge picture. But you can also use it for like an actual computer. And I'm like, well, can we just get my reminders to come up there?
That would be amazing.
Yeah. It's no one, because ADHD is a load of things that people experience on an occasion. When you explain it to them, they can't fathom the frequency in which it actually occurs in your life. And because of that, it's kind of like, oh yeah, well, we all get that, don't we? We all have a little bit of ADHDs. Just why are you complaining? Like, you know what I mean? Like, just get on with it. And it's kind of like, I understand that you think that you're being empathetic, but you're not. You're being sympathetic, and it's actually not really describing my difficulties at all.
Yeah,
So
it's funny you say this because I actually made a video where I had like a bad ADHD day, and I thought it was because I was becoming tolerant to my medication. And now I found out it was actually because my GPs had changed my brand. Like, that's a whole other story. Like, like they've not done enough to, mess with me. Anyway, so I was having a really bad day, and I was just like, you know what? I want to show people this is what it's like. Like, I'm sick and tired of people not taking us seriously, and, they need to understand. So it ended up actually getting a lot of attention. And if you ever see the video, the comments are mostly people with ADHD who are so thankful to finally see someone who's explaining how hard it is, because it's a very difficult position to put yourself in, to be that vulnerable and say how difficult it is. And this is where, as well, why it's so important that when we're sharing stuff on social media, that we are showing this vulnerable, negative side, because this is the only way we're going to make change. When it comes to mental health, people have been very raw, they've been very real, and that's why it's been taken more seriously now. And so I think that is the time for us now to actually, because we're still dealing with stigma. People aren't taking us seriously, so we need to show them, like, no, this is serious, because this is literally what happens.
And so final question then, because we both know from our meeting before, we will talk forever.
Oh my God, I just looked at the time. This happened last time as well.
I know.
You're a very dangerous woman to talk to.
I know.
You're lucky I've got nothing else to do besides just cuddle with my dog this evening.
The funny thing is I do have things to do. No, it won't take me long. I've just got some work revision to do. But so my last question was then, obviously what you're doing comes from a very researched background. Now, a lot of the pages on social media, on TikTok or on Instagram that I follow, tend to be other ADHDers trying to explain their experience and therefore educate, or they've made ADHD their business, so they're ADHD accountants or anything like that. But there is a lot of videos that will still come up on even my feed where I kind of look at it and I'm like, you're kind of making ADHD a caricature. Being a content creator, how would you, what's your feelings about like the kind of content where it's just a bit like, this isn't actually ADHD, like you need to be careful about what it is that you're reading or what you're viewing? How can you separate, or what would be your advice to people looking for content, how to find content like yours, which is based on research, versus people who are just trying to go like, oh, butterfly, I must have ADHD, so I'm going to look over here and I'm going to be all distracted. And you're just like, that's not really, you're exaggerating it a lot.
I know, so this is where, when I talk about social media, this is like the negative parts of it. And I will admit, if people sometimes look at some of my older TikTok videos about ADHD, it could sometimes come across as that. But for me, it's because that was when I was in the first part of my diagnosis journey, and I was kind of piecing together everything. Like, I have a video where I talk about what weird habits I had, which ended up actually being an ADHD trait. There's a lot of videos like that. And the thing is, a lot of people are just sharing their own experiences because it's like an aha moment for them that this was because of that. But you have to be cautious to know that one person's experience isn't going to be the same as yours. And I posted another video about this as well. Like, everyone is going to experience ADHD symptoms in their life, every single person, but not to the magnitude that someone with ADHD will. So when you are seeing these kind of videos, there is this tendency to essentially self-diagnose yourself because of what you're watching, because it's a very relatable thing, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot my keys. Oh, I was zoning out. Like, it's very relatable, you know. And that's where I think it's becoming messy, because people are now very easily, you know, giving them a label, telling, you know, I've got ADHD because I watched this video and that's me. But it's like, no, you don't. Like, you've watched one video doesn't mean you have it. This is why I say social media is great to open the door, because if you resonate with the video, go do your own research, go consult a clinician, and go actually get medical help to figure out if this actually is ADHD or if it's just a video which you just happen to resonate with. Because, you know, the symptoms are very relatable symptoms. And sometimes it does bug me because I see these videos as well, and it can make a mockery of the disorder, you know. And I mean, it can go one of two ways. Either that person is just trying to get their views, you know, this is how they make their videos, through like funny music, dancing. I don't know what some of these lot do. Or if you don't laugh, you're gonna cry. Like, I deal with my pain through dark humor and memes.
Me too.
So, you know, like, we have to sometimes just laugh about it because it's the only way we can get through it. But I think now, because, you know, my following has grown a lot more on TikTok since I first started, we have a responsibility that when we make these kind of videos to say, don't use this as a diagnosis tool. You know, people's experiences aren't always going to be the same. These are my experiences. I'm just sharing that. Like, take this with a pinch of salt, kind of thing as well. But we also need to start, you know, slowly getting away from like the light-hearted side of it, because that's what is causing this whole, you know, issue with everyone now having ADHD. Because, you know, that's another reason as to why the waiting lists are so long, because so many people are convinced they have it. And that's not dismissing the people who actually do have it, but I'm talking about the people who haven't done their research, who, you know, can easily, you know, someone maybe, like, if someone asked me, what are your ADHD symptoms? And I told that to them, a lot of people would be like, oh, I must have it then. And it's like, no, because is this your life? Like, every single day of every single minute? No. That's where we need to start making that difference. Because, you know, the NHS is so overwhelmed, and that's part of like the problem of that. And like another issue as well is, like, back in our parents' generation, if you think about it, this is another theory which it makes sense. So the jobs and lifestyles that they had, it was very active. You know, we were out there, we were like laborers, we were farmers, like, we were doing things. We weren't consumed by technology. Those kind of lifestyles are suited for an ADHD brain. So those, in a sense, were kind of helping to alleviate the symptoms. So people who might have had ADHD wouldn't have even known, because that lifestyle was helping them manage the ADHD symptoms without even knowing. But we move to, you know, this day and age now. It's all computers. It's all fast paced. It's technology, 9 to 5, like, go, go, go. That's not suited for us, particularly with COVID and lockdown. That was the worst time for people like us. So it's no wonder these symptoms start flaring up. And then no wonder, you know, referrals are going up, cases are going up. Pair this with the raise of awareness and all of that. Like, you know, it is not a new thing. It has always been around there. It has always been around.
It's really funny you say that. Like, you're just going, oh, this is a good topic to go down, but we're not going to do it. I'm just going to say it's one thing. So we're a group of where you don't need a clinical diagnosis in order to join. I joined before I had my clinical diagnosis, and I joined the bi-weekly support groups where I was joined by a load of other people who also didn't have their formal diagnosis. And one thing that I found was that a lot of those people, like myself, and I guess you, from what you've said, it started from that one video. So for me, it was a video on how to ADHD that came up on YouTube, because I was trying to figure out how I could help myself. And that came up. and I just resonated, and then I spiraled. And that is the main thing that I notice is the difference of people who I think are self-diagnosing correctly are the people that are going, oh, whoa, tick, 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 tick. Let me go. And then you're like,
we research for hours. This is why we are experts in our conditions sometimes, because we hyper focus and look into every little detail. And that is a very good point, actually. Someone with ADHD is more likely to start spiraling, and that's all they can talk about. And it's like, it's everything. Like even now, like everyone's fed up with me talking about ADHD.
Yeah, me too.
Literally, like my boyfriend, every time I mention ADHD, he's just like, right, I'm going upstairs. I can't, like, I'm fed up. You've put me through enough. I've had it. Yeah, that's very true. That is a very clear
you
difference.
did you did the same thing as well. And I think that is that for me is where you can tell if you had it, and you then had that self-realization and not somebody else going, oh, you have it. Because there's obviously people who get the diagnosis without having the realization for themselves. And those people are also people who have turned around and said, I ignored my diagnosis for ages and pretended it didn't happen, forgot that I had been diagnosed. But if you are the one who's had that you've kind of self-diagnosed and you've had that realization for yourself, and you've then gone, I'm going to look into this, I'm going to do the diagnostic criteria assessment over and over and over again, which is like what I do. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to look into this symptom and oh, this makes sense. Oh, now I understand myself. Like when I saw it, I was just like, my life now makes sense. It never made sense until this very moment.
Exactly. So that is technically what self-diagnosis is. Like, I think that, perfectly illustrates the difference between kind of seeing a social media video and thinking, oh yeah, no, I have ADHD, rather than doing what you guys are doing, where, and me as well, like you kind of research everything, you do all the right tests, look into it extensively, because if you think about it, most people who get a diagnosis, they have to self-diagnose themselves initially. But it's the way that you do it, which is very, very important.
Yeah.
So, you perfectly
nail on head. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I'm not going to keep you much longer because you're probably as hungry as I am. So
my stomach is actually rumbling.
Mine too. Like, I was like, oh my God, my mic is going to pick this up. So just to round up, we have had the pleasure of speaking to Little Miss ADHD, aka Priyanka, about her diagnosis journey, about her experience as an Asian woman of Indian descent, and getting diagnosed, and also working as and I'm going to see if I remember this the second time, clinical mental health psychologist.
Pharmacist. Very close. You got it the first time.
Yeah, and the thing is, I know that there's a difference, and I still said the wrong
thing. Do you know
thing.
the both start with P and end in cis? So don't worry, it's an easy mistake.
Yeah, so close. Okay, clinical mental health
pharmacist.
I was like, no, pharmacist is wrong. Okay. I've learned some amazing stuff about just about prescribing as well. So, what you were saying about being able to, if you're on certain antidepressants or antipsychotic medication, then that can actually make your ADHD much worse. That's something that very resonated to me. I'm glad that you have also seen the benefits of the supplements that I'm buying myself. So you've reiterated to me.
How insane was that? You literally just whipped out the one that I was mentioning. Like,
as you mentioned it, I saw it.
That's where this goes back to, like, I don't know what word you use where you can, what's happening in the future or something. Like, yeah, I believe you now.
Prophetic. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever that word was. I'm not going to remember it, but yeah, that
word. And so I guess that will be my main takeaway from this our conversation, is obviously there's a lot of similarities between our cultures, and I've always said this about any culture where you're a person of color or an ethnic minority in a country where you're not the majority. But other than that, we've obviously spoken about Little Miss ADHD's plans and what you're going to do. But is there anything that you have going on or coming up in the immediate future that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Actually, yeah, like I actually had a digital journalist
Ooh.
from the ITV News.
Whoa.
I thought it was a joke. I looked for her LinkedIn because I was like, there's no way this is real. But yeah, anyway, she does content for like an Instagram page, which is like, here is the ITV News or whatever. And I was trying to figure out because there's a lot that is entailed with ITV News. There's little parts of it. So I don't know exactly what part she came up of. All I know is that she works for ITV News.
Mm.
So yeah, I did an interview with her actually on Tuesday, where we were talking about ADHD and social media. So we'll touch upon some of the things that we've spoken about as well. So am so excited for that to come out. That will be on my page. I don't know exactly where it's going to be posted. I mean, even if it's on just like a little Instagram page, that's still an accomplishment for me.
Yeah.
But the main thing I want from doing all of these things is I want to make noise. Like I want people to understand. I want people to learn. Like I don't care about me. Like I don't want to be famous or anything like that. It's like I want my content to be famous, whatever I'm saying, wherever I'm posting, get that out there.
Yeah.
So, I'm slowly starting to do that. So I think that was like a huge thing for me to be approached for that. And I was just like, why are you asking me? Like I'm just a random small little Indian pharmacist from Manchester. Like, why do you want me? But yeah, it was amazing. It was
That's
really good.
amazing.
And
Well done.
yeah, I'm excited to see how it comes out.
Yeah,
So,
me too.
yeah.
Like I will definitely be getting that post. I'll be going on to
Thank
look for it.
you.
But so that everybody else can follow you and see that post too, um, let's confirm your handle. So is it just at Little Miss ADHD or?
Yeah, this is a very touchy subject. So I had to get creative because there's some idiot out there who has the Little Miss ADHD and it is a spam account who's
Oh
not posted in
no.
years. The worst, absolute worst. I was fuming. Anyway, so just to be clear, it is not that account with I don't even know. I think it's got 6 followers or something, like not posted in years. But it's Little Miss underscore ADHD underscore. That's the best way I could do it. Like I thought if I started adding numbers and stuff, it'd get really complicated. And then I don't know, it was either Instagram or TikTok that wouldn't let me put the full stop or something. So I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
right, okay, fine. What else can I do? So yeah, I think I'm gonna stick with that. I'm trying to embrace it, but
Yeah.
yeah,
And
I really wanted that original name.
they
Still do.
both are the same.
Sorry?
They're both TikTok and Instagram are the same.
Yes. Yeah. Just to make it easier, I just kept them
Yeah.
the same. Yeah.
And I'm thinking it's TikTok because I think I have a dot in my Insta name. No, I don't.
Okay. It
No, I
might have
don't.
been
Somebody
that.
else's.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Anywho's, that's fine. So yeah, is there any other places that people can get hold of you if you want to reach out or want to explore more of your content?
So it's usually just those 2 pages. I mean, I have got an email address now because I'm trying to keep everything like separate from personal. There is currently one message sitting in that inbox. So, it's I might not even need it because a lot of the communication stuff I do is on TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's there anyway because the way I see it is like if people had like like some complex medication queries or advice or something, something which requires a lot of detail to answer. Like I don't want to just send you like a quick Instagram message. Like I want to take some time and send it to you properly. I mean, it's organized podcasts and like potential meetups and things like that. It's just easier to kind of have it as
separate. Yeah, I'm the same. Like I have a separate email account for my Instagram, a separate one for the podcast, but that's also because it's within ADHD, babe. So I want it to be ADHD. Yeah. But otherwise, I'm just like, no, you're emailing the wrong inbox. You need to do that one, so that I will miss your message if you don't email that one. It has to be that inbox. So I completely get it, but it's fine because if they can reach out to you on those social pages, then you can kind of either give out your email address or things on those bases.
It's linked to my Instagram anyway. I mean, email me if you want. Like, I don't mind. If that's what you prefer, go ahead. That's fine. Anyway. I need to put another message in there. So, the automatic one from Yahoo won't be so lonely.
Priya's trying to get like more than 10 in the inbox so it looks like it's being used. More than 6 is more followers than the Little Miss ADHD that we're not talking about has. Yeah. So you need more than 6 emails in your inbox for it to be real. not a fake account.
I might just have to get like my boyfriend to just send me something so it's like legit.
Right, but thank you so much for joining us. I am
Right, thank you so much for having me. Like, this has been absolutely amazing. Like, you know, you guys are doing an incredible thing. Like I've already said to you before, like you are probably like the first page or community I've seen for Black and non-binary women who have ADHD. Like it's I feel like anyone who fits that kind of community is like, where do you find your people? You know, so it's amazing what you guys are doing, and you know, to have me on as well, that we can actually share our cultures and like speak about the differences and similarities. And I think I've had a lot of fun.
Oh,
like
I'm glad.
It's been a lot of fun actually.
I know,
like,
I've just kept you all evening.
Yeah, you know, I don't think I've had this much fun on a podcast before, actually.
Oh,
like,
well,
you know, because do you know what? I feel it's also because I've been really scared with the other ones, because it's like it's been quite new. But then as well, like, you know, you're very easy to talk to. Like, you have a good vibe about you. I like you.
Thank you. Tell my employer. No, I'm joking. Don't forget to reach out to us with a message for our Dear Babes Advice episodes. You can send us a voice note or written message by clicking the links available in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining us again. Feel free to follow us so that you don't miss any future episodes. And we're wishing you all a wonderful holiday period. Catch you next time. Bye, guys. Thanks for listening to this episode of ADHD Babes, the podcast. If you're a Black woman or non-binary person and needs help and support in managing your ADHD or advice on diagnosis, please visit adhdbabes.com. No clinical diagnosis is required to join. Join us in 2 weeks for a new episode. Until then, all the love from the ADHD Babes team.